In this video, I'm going to break down different ways to learn and how using learning styles will help you, especially in fitness. Okay, so the first way I like to say there's ways to learning. So the breakdown of it is like ways to learn. It's going to be read, listen plus writing key details, doing, and then doing plus coaching. So I'm going to use fitness for every single one of these examples and then bring you along inside the examples to make it make sense to you so you can implement it into your life. Okay, so let's use bodybuilding as an example because it's the easiest one to track in terms of what the goal is. The goal is to get size, okay? So if you truly want to learn, right, this means that the definition of learning is going to be actually finding something information-wise in the book that's going to allow you to apply it to your life and change the stimulus. Because the definition of learning, right, is changing a behavior based on a learned principle, right? So if I want to learn how to get in shape, I'm going to learn how to get in shape. I'm going to understand the principles that I need to know to get in shape and then do those principles, because the goal of the learning is to then make the action of getting in shape, right? If I want to learn Chinese, I need to know Chinese because I have to learn it. My actions have to change because I have to understand and know and be able to speak Chinese if I learned Chinese. It makes sense? So if you want to learn how to do bodybuilding, which I'm going to talk about, you have to bodybuild and get results, right? Your actions have to change because if the goal is to learn, then the goal must be to do, right? And one of the best ways to learn is to do, right? Okay, so number one is going to be reading for bodybuilding. So let's say we got our bodybuilder here, and he wants to learn how to bodybuild. Reading is going to be one of the least effective ways to learn. Don't come at me, because most people that sit there and read books all day don't know shit. Because technically, by the definition of learning, if you know and you read all these self-help books about how to change your life, and you read about business, and you read about fitness, and you do all this bullshit, but you're not in shape and you're fat and you're broke, you haven't learned anything, realistically. So before you come at me, people that read books all day and don't do anything don't learn. They don't learn anything. It's one of the most least effective ways to learn anything in life, and most times you forget it anyway because you just read it and it doesn't hit you. It doesn't hit you in the chest like doing does. But one of the first ways is learning, reading is one of the least effective ways. Let me explain to you. If I want to learn how to bodybuild and I read a book on bodybuilding, I now understand, right? So if I okay, how to bench press, because I want to bodybuild, so I'm going to look up how to bench press, and I read a book without pictures, right? That without a book, I read. You must extend your arms and do this, right? The read to action to result is a lot larger than, for example, where I'm gonna jump to step 4, which is doing with a coach. So doing with tips and keys, right? So for those of you who are mad that I'm talking about books, think about when you read in relation to from words to actions, how fast is the result? Because when I talk about learning, I talk about how to initiate a result, a stimulus that initiates results. So reading, in my opinion, is one of the least effective ways to actually learn, because when we read, we're not getting results. We're getting one step closer to results, but there's a lot more steps you're going to have to go along to actually get the results from reading the book, okay? Next is going to be listening with writing keys. You could add reading into this, so if you stack all these, it's going to guarantee you learn it, okay? So let's say listen with writing key details, because not only you're going to hear it, but you're going to do the writing, which then in turn is reading as well. But let's say we're going to have the book in front of us and we're going to listen, and we're going to also write key details or circle or highlight and then write, okay? So this is not only going to allow us to hear it and think about like different ways to absorb the knowledge from a voice that are key details that can be left out of reading, right? Because you watching this video is going to allow you to engage more than reading it, because there's going to be certain words and emphasis that I put on my words, like you have to press fast versus you have to press fast, right? Because it's more emphasis, so it makes you understand that it's more important, okay? So there's also going to be different movements, right, in hearing and listening, because you can understand emphasis on words and what's more important versus what's not. If I say, okay, in a book, you have to bench press. Okay, you're going to bench press, right? But if I say, when I'm talking, you have to bench press, that's important. There's a little key detail in there that you might not read in a book, but it's something that when someone's talking, you're going to be able to get more and you're going to understand the emphasis more, so you can write it down. Right? So when you listen, right, audiobooks I think are great because there's going to be little tidbits in there and emphasis of the people, especially if it's the author narrating, that's great, and you also write it down with the book in front of you. That's if you're going to read a book, I think is the best way to read a book, because you're actually going to be able to listen and understand the emphasis of the words, right? And then you're also going to be able to write down key details, and it's going to allow your brain to understand it better. There's a study linked to writing things down versus remembering it more. But at the end of the day, if you write things down and you memorize all this shit and you make a big list of everything in the book and you don't do anything, you didn't learn shit. So might as well keep listening, because you're going to learn the best ways to do things, okay? The third best way to learn is going to be doing. So when I say doing, I mean actually performing the action, trying to learn. So you have to have some context before you do, which is where reading and writing or listening can come in. But I think the best way to truly learn without a coach is to see a visual, hear it, understand the basic concept, and do it a lot of times until you yourself could teach it. Okay? So let's keep using the bench press for bodybuilding example-wise. Okay? So we're going to bench press for bodybuilding, and we see you need to have a lot of reps, and you need to, push the bar up and down. Okay? So we understand the basic principles. We need to push the bar up and down a lot of times. But now we're going to go do it. And we're going to figure out how to do it the best way to optimize for size by doing. So we're going to get into the bar, and the first time we do it, right, we're going to say someone who's never bodybuilded, someone who's never bench pressed, because that's the definition of someone who's going to need to learn the most, which would then work into these key details the most effectively, right? So they're going to get into the bar, and they're not going to know what to do. They might not even be able to lift it, so they're going to have to go lighter, whatever it is, right? Right, so they're not going to be able to lift it. The bar's going to come down, it's probably going to be all wonky, and they're not going to understand, right? If their goal is to get a big chest, they can't do that. So the more and more they do it, they're going to need to shift and move and make different tweaks to optimize for that chest. But the only way for them to know how to pinch and extend and make sure there's a path is to truly do. Because if you hear, if you read and you listen and you see all these little keys, right, they're gonna make sense. But until you actually do them, you're not gonna understand. You're not gonna learn what they mean, because the goal of seeing is to do. And until you do, you're not gonna learn, because the definition of learning, remember, our definition from the beginning is to actually create a result. So if you learn all this, if you watch all these videos and you do all this, and you didn't create a stimulus in your chest, you didn't learn anything. So to learn it, you actually have to do it. So this is why creating the stimulus through the doing is one of the most effective ways of learning, because you actually are creating the stimulus while learning the most efficient way to create the stimulus at the same time. So as we bench press, as we get better into the bench press, we're going to learn different ways to create the best stimulus on our chest. A good analogy for this is going to be like a tube of toothpaste. An athlete is someone who never bench pressed, right? Everything they're going to do in that bench press is going to maybe make a stimulus to some degree. That toothpaste is going to be a new tube. When they squeeze it, it's going to get the stimulus, right? But the more and more that they do it, that stimulus is going to be more and more precise to create the effect of muscle gain. So that tube of toothpaste is going to be one you crinkle up. You got to roll it up, make it just hit in just the right way to create the stimulus. Right? So this is where doing and learning becomes most effective, because more than just the press becomes the technical aspects of ways to isolate the chest and push down and push up and get the best result in optimization for chest size. Now, the fastest way of learning, the best way, the way that can guarantee you every time without doing anything before, you can learn. You will learn and you will get the result. You will get the stimulus most times, right? Is doing with a coach. Unless your coach is shit, this is going to work. So I like to use bodybuilding as an example. Especially, and this is why I say, if you're going to have a coach, learn from somebody who has done what you're trying to do. Would you listen to a skinny, scrawny dude or a fat dude on fitness advice? Probably not, unless he's got a ton of degrees, etc. But even then, I want my fitness coach to be jacked, okay? I really don't want my fitness coach to be a fat piece of shit telling me how to be in shape, because I can't believe that somebody would have this much knowledge about training and not be in shape, okay? Unless they just literally do nothing but sit there and program workouts and read. At the end of the day, I want my coach to know what he's talking about. So, a better example could be, would you listen to a business coach who sucks, who has no money? No. So most of the times, if someone really knows what they're talking about, they're going to apply it to themselves, and they're going to be, for fitness, for this example, for the bodybuilding example, we're gonna listen. For someone who's never bodybuilded, we're going to listen to the guy who's got a big chest, okay? So, skinny guy listening to the guy with the big chest about how to bench press for size. Super specific. But when you have specific goals, you need to have specific coaches. So we have a doing coach. The first time we're ever going to bench press for size, we're going to have a guy who's never bench pressed and a guy who's bench pressed 1,000,000 times. Huge chest, Arnold chest, big guy. Me, for example. If I'm teaching you, I got a big chest. Boom. Pec deck flex, okay? I got a big chest. I'm going to teach you about it, right? So the new guy, might come down and he might hit the bar up here. And he's like, oh, why isn't my chest activating? Well, I'm going to tell him the first time, you have to hit the chest right below your pec. You have to hit it right on your sternum to get the best squeeze. So now, after the first rep of his bench press, he learns where to put the bar. The guy that might have tried to learn it strictly by doing might have picked that up after, 20 sets or 20 days of doing it, but now the first rep he did, he has now went from bad to way better. One rep in, because there's a coach there to show him. Because that coach probably understands that he's probably done it that way before. He understands that that rep is not as effective here as it is here. So the first rep, he's now better. So now let's say rep 2, okay, is here. So bam, right here. Now he's hitting it right here. But let's say the bar is back here on his fingers and it's coming back to his head every time. So now 2 reps in, right, I say, hey man, you got to get the bar, girl, whatever you are, transgender, I don't know. I don't care either. But the bar might be back here, boom, pushing it back here. But now I tell him you have to move the bar right here. It has to be in line with your forearm, because when you push, you want it to be in one range of motion. You want it to be in one path, so the bar goes straight up, and your chest is contracting the whole way through the movement, as opposed to let more of your shoulders and more of your triceps at the top of the lift, right? So now, 2 reps into his bench press, he has learned not only where to hit the bar, where to place the bar, but how to get the best chest squeeze at the same time. So now let's say he's got one more rep, okay? So now he squeezes the bar. It's on his pad. He hits it off his sternum, but the bar is a little bit shaky on the way up still, because he understands that it's got to hit here. I gave him another cue to help him with that, but the bar is still all here, right? So now there's another cue I can tell him. 3 reps in. 3 reps into his first time benching. Now I'm going to tell him, you have to have the bar here. You have to have it in a straight line up. You have to hit it off your sternum. But before you rep it, you're going to need to pinch your back. So now you're going to need to pinch your back before you rep it, so you have that shoulder locked in place, so that movement pattern is locked in and you can get the most efficient movement pattern every time. Because when you lock your shoulders, it makes your shoulders go through that range of motion. It isolates them from going anywhere else when those shoulders are locked, and it optimizes them to bench press. So 3 reps in of his first time bench pressing, my guy I'm training, now knows the best possible way to get chest optimization 3 reps in. Think about how many reps you'd have to do reading a book and trying to do it, reading a book and listening and trying to read while writing and seeing maybe a picture maybe, and then think about how many reps you'd have to do just trying to do it after doing the first 2 to actually get the stimulus, versus literally just the first time ever getting a coach, trying to do it. You're getting the listening cues and the most important parts only, because all the guy coach cares about is to get through the results. He's not going to break down to you the ATP conversion and the breakdown of your... He doesn't care, because the coach wants the results. He's not going to break it down crazy for you to the point where you need to know the background. He knows the background because he's a coach. Okay? So you can skip all the mistakes, you can skip all the learning, and just get right into the doing, the learning, why a coach is effective. So now, by having a coach, you have learned the bench press effectively in 3 reps to the best of your ability. Now, you have all the answers, you have all the secrets, you have all the keys. Now, the only thing you have to do that the coach can't do for you is make you bench press every single, every chest day. Do a bench press, once every 3 days for 6 months. You do 100 chest days of that same technique, that same motion. Now, you have optimized for chest gains with the bench press, simply by having a coach the first time. So look at the track, right? So let's say from reading, we might have hit it. We might hit that optimization at 50 days in. Maybe by reading and writing we hit it 60. Maybe by learning, whatever we do, we've hit it that. But guaranteeing you that by having a coach and doing it at the same time the first time, we can hit the stimulus the first day, the first session, 3 reps in of the first set. That's why doing with a coach is the best way to learn effectively. If you want another example, easy example, okay? What do you think the most effective way to build a profitable company would be business-wise? If you're going to try to make as much money as possible, what do you think would be the best way? This is a very, very good example, okay? Do you think reading a book about money would help you? Do you think reading a book about money and writing everything down will help you? Do you think trying to start a business and make money would help you? Or do you think having Jeff Bezos as your business coach, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk as your business coach, helping you start your company and helping you every step of the way throughout the entire process of starting a business and making money would be the best option? Obviously, the fourth one, okay? So that's an example of why if you want to learn, you need to do with a coach to get the best results the fastest, okay? If you want the best results the fastest, reach out to me and let's talk about fitness. Let's talk about bodybuilding, let's talk about strength, let's talk about sports, let's talk about losing fat. Because I've done it. I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm big, I don't have much fat on me, I was successful in sports. I've done all the areas that I coach in. I've done all the mistakes. I've done and I've did and I've read and I've learned and I've listened and I've been mentored. But now I do. So let me do with you. Do with a coach if you want to learn. Comment down below if you want to learn and you want to work and coach with me. If you don't want to comment below, go ahead and click the link tree and fill out the VIP coaching form and I'll reach out to you. If you don't want to do that, at least go follow the social medias so you can learn some stuff and then you can do on your own, okay? So thanks for watching. If this helped, do it. Don't leave a comment below. Go do it and then send me the results. If it didn't help, tell me why it didn't help and then maybe I can reach out and maybe we can work together so you can do and learn from a coach so it can help. Thanks. My success is your success. Become more.